Hey, you're watching Blueenk Plays Dark Corridors 2, Gia's Story. This game was made by Korean developers. It's sadly poorly translated. The story revolves around the death of Lucy. Lucy seems to have committed suicide, but was that what really happened? You get to play using the 4 characters who were directly involved with Lucy. By playing and completing each of the characters' missions, you get to read their side of the story on the events that had happened leading to Lucy's unfortunate death. So let's play it. So we're running in their school's dark corridors while she has internal monologue. She doesn't sound as weak-willed as I thought she would be. As you may have noticed from the loading screen, this is a Google Play Store app. It's unfortunately not available for the iPhone App Store. This is basically a copycat version of Temple Run, but with the twists that it's a horror game and that it has a story, making this game more interesting and enjoyable. Although the characters don't seem like they're being chased like in Temple Run, all 4 characters are actually being chased by the ghost of Lucy. When their character decelerates speed by tripping or accidentally hitting the wall, Lucy's ghost appears. Also, when she catches up to you, a random illustration of Lucy suddenly pops up. We'll get to that later. I'm sorry for the poor game audio. I'm using the paid version of AZ Screen Recorder, and apparently Google doesn't allow recording internal audio or just the game audio, so the screen recorder only supports recording sound via microphone. So in the background, you might hear rustling, tapping, barking, and cat wailing. So sorry for that. When you get to a new map, this transition happens. I think that resentful voice belongs to Lucy. As I mentioned earlier, this game was made by Korean developers, and this game was translated from Korean. Unfortunately, it had been translated into English. It's terrible, the grammar, the phrasing, it's so confusing. The story turned out to be very vague, and I did my best in trying to translate the English into English. But while Gia's still running, let's talk about English. In my own words, English is a slang term for English sentences which are poorly constructed and are usually spoken or written by non-native English speakers in Asian countries. But it's not limited to Asians, as any poorly constructed English sentence can be considered English even if spoken or written by a native English speaker. Obviously, I'm not a native English speaker. I think English can also apply to accents. So one can say that I have a bit of an English accent. I'm doing my best to have a good accent, so please bear with me. Zeva Inc.'s earliest games mostly had English statements. Compared to several years ago, their illustrations and English have drastically improved. Let's view some examples of English statements preserved through the internet. Godfire. Level 4 is Denger. Today is under construction. Thank you for understanding. Illustor. They're selling extra reduced dried baby. Korean to English. Sam's games must have availed of this service. 90% of all people are caused by accidents. Do not breathe under the water. This scrumptious meal rightfully has a name. Paul is dead. There shall be no pissing on the security camera. If you hoard, then you hoard. Strictly prohibited to enter relatives. Counting machine. Not feel well, get drunk. What? That illustration looks phallic. Violators will be fine. If that's so, I want to be a violator. Priority seat. For the elderly, the physically disabled, and a woman pregnant with a Wi-Fi connection? What? And finally, a mom who has a toddler or a baby. Each new map only looks more damaged and more menacing. I'll be ending this game and show you what it's like when you play using the special costume. You can choose to revive using the blood points. Oops, sorry. This costume can be bought using the butterfly points. And this special outfit lets you revive, and it can only be bought using blood points. Anyway, as I mentioned earlier, when Lucy catches up to you, you'll see a random illustration of a frightening Lucy. And since we have this special costume on, we revive. Let's see another illustration of Lucy. After this, I'll start reading the stories. Get ready for the cringy English. I did my best in translating the sentences into English. Gia is a freshman, her blood type is A, zodiac sign is Capricorn. Is this all my fault? I'm a bit upset that Gia's voice sounds so generic. I guess I'll just be using my normal voice for her. Rip picture. In this picture, I'm the one on the left and Tammy's on the right. We looked so similar to each other back then, from the way we wore our uniform, the way we arranged our hair, and the youthful smiles we had on. If you were to look at our middle school pictures, you'd think we looked just like twins. We were best friends during middle school, and we were both so happy to have met each other. We were, yes. Now, she and I aren't close anymore. We drifted apart from each other. I hid away the picture of Tammy and I in my drawer. Hairbrush with hair strands. Tammy and I went to the same middle school and we were in the same class. We were once very close, but when she was befriended by those delinquents, we drifted apart. Now that we're in high school, she barely talks to me, but she would, from time to time, approach me to borrow my hairbrush, just like when we were in middle school. It makes me feel nostalgic. Upon returning my hairbrush, there would be strands of her blonde hair entangled between the bristles. Novel. I'm not actually fond of nor used to reading novels. However, I decided to carry novels with me all the time so as not to look alone and helpless to everyone else. I intentionally picked an antique novel that looked complex. I thought that this would help me in a way that no one would look down on me because I look smart. It probably hindered anyone from ever coming up to befriend me, but that was okay, I convinced myself. I'm a very shy person after all. Although I looked difficult to approach, there was one person who befriended me, Lucy. She would talk to me enthusiastically even though I pretended to be more interested in reading the novel. Notebook. I have a notebook which should be considered as proof of my closeness with Lucy. Lucy and I shared this notebook containing summaries of lessons to personal conversations such as cute messages and even some of Lucy's secrets. One interesting secret was that she likes Mr. Con, who was married to our homeroom teacher. Note with smudged ink. Ever since I routinely started hanging out with Lucy, Tammy gave a note to me. I don't know why I kept this menacing note. Written in red ink was, "Are you having fun with Lucy?" I was wondering why she sent this kind of note. It seems as if she might actually be jealous and wants to be friends with me again. Felt purse. During lunchtime, Lucy and I were at the cafeteria to buy a meal. As I was about to take out my purse to pay for my meal, somebody suddenly grabbed my arm. It was Tammy. For some reason set unknown, she was shaking my arm roughly while spouting swear words at me, saying, "Look at how awful of a little shit you are, Gia. What are you doing hanging out with this bitch named Lucy?" It was then that Tammy grabbed me closer to her and whispered to me that she wants to talk to me near the cafeteria after classes. She informed me that she'd like to tell me about what Lucy's real intentions are towards me. Snack pack. As promised, Tammy and I met up by the cafeteria where it was dark and quiet. We had a few snacks, and although it was a bit awkward for a while, we eventually started talking just like we normally did during the old days. Eventually, she warned me about Lucy's intentions. Tammy was claiming that Lucy is using me like a maid. Tammy wanted me to trust her, but I was hesitant to say that I did. After all, Lucy seems like such a nice person. I justified my actions and told Tammy about my relationship with Lucy. I even told her about Lucy's secrets. Yellow post-it notes. The next day, I saw several post-it notes plastered all over the school hallways. Those notes contained spiteful messages. Some of the notes were about the eyebrow-raising rumors about Lucy and Mr. Con, as well as reasons to hate the idolized student. Tammy noticed me and came over to tell me discreetly that this was all her group's plan. She also told me that once you get more popular, you get more enemies as well. Mechanical pencil. After all of Lucy's secrets were revealed, Lucy was met with disdain from most of the student body and thus broke down in anger, desperation, and sadness. Lucy blamed me because I was the only person she personally disclosed her secrets to. Lucy was so pissed off and wasn't thinking clearly. Whenever Tammy's clique would bully her even more terribly than before, she would always resent me for whatever happened to her. I was eager to have my seating arrangement elsewhere, but the arrangement was unfortunately only up to the homeroom teacher, or the class president. Message alert. I was so frustrated by the thought of needing to go to school tomorrow that I couldn't even sleep. It was then that Tammy unexpectedly messaged me. She sent me an image. I wondered what it was and downloaded it. It turned out to be a long screenshot of Lucy's text messages for Tammy, and it contained Lucy's suicide warning. Scissors with red handle. Just as Lucy said she would in her text messages, she was planning to... She really intended to... She was standing at the classroom windowsill. Tammy was filled with doubt that Lucy would actually do it. She was simply laughing at her while I was anxious. I intended to bring Lucy away from the window, but when she saw that I was approaching, she revealed that she had scissors and launched in to attack me. She intends to kill me! I cowered. I was fortunately able to avoid her attack, but she somehow lost her balance and fell from the window. Broken bracelet. I was barely able to grip her arm properly when she was on the ledge of the window. I didn't have enough strength to hold her for a long time, and I especially didn't have enough strength to pull her back up to the classroom. When I lost my grip and she fell down, all I could hold on to was her now broken bracelet, which broke during my lame attempt at trying to pull her back up. I was in shock and couldn't muster up the courage to immediately look at her body from such a high floor. That's it for Gia's story. With how the text is originally worded, I found it confusing. I don't know what to feel about Gia's character and intentions. We didn't learn much about what she really thinks. Let's analyze the characters based on Gia's story. So personally, Gia thinks Tammy and her look alike, but that can only be noticed if you're an actual human. Or is Gia actually breaking the fourth wall and saying she has the same face syndrome? In anime, characters' faces would look alike, but not one of them would acknowledge it. Think of Sword Art Online. Asuna's considered such a beauty, but the rest of the girls look exactly like her. None of the characters there acknowledge that fact. So Gio, unless you're actually breaking the fourth wall, and dismissing the fact that the story is poorly translated, I can say you're being delusional. Also, the way you and Tammy wore your uniforms aren't alike. Tammy surprisingly has her buttons all the way up, and you have your color unbuttoned. And no, you didn't have similar hairstyles. You wore braided pigtails, while she's always worn a ponytail. And your hair is green, hers is blonde. So yeah, you're delusional. So why was the picture ripped anyway? I wish they addressed that. Perhaps you ripped that picture since you were angry at the fact that you two weren't close anymore. Now, Tammy's here to join the party. Without actually conversing with Gia like a friend, Tammy would borrow Gia's hairbrush from time to time, and she'd leave her hair strands between the bristles of the hairbrush. Quite nasty, isn't she? And Gia here seems too compliant, like a pushover. Here, we learn that Gia is introverted. She wants friends, but she's too shy to make a move. It seems Gia is really interested in the fact that Lucy liked their teacher. I think that's a bit childish, but that's normal for a junior high schooler anyway. Although Gia is shy, she can pick up on social cues. Here, we see just how aggressive Tammy is. She even threw curse words towards Gia, who's supposed to be her friend. She is a bully. Gia seems indecisive and is an untrustworthy friend. She also seems unaware that Tammy is a bully. I don't know if it's her just being unaware or just being untrustworthy. And what was it that Gia justified anyway? Did she justify to Tammy that she was only hanging out with Lucy because of companionship? That she had no choice? Okay, so she wasn't expecting this bullying incident. So she really is unaware of Tammy's bullying. Instead of confronting and consoling Lucy, Gia wants to run away from the problem. This shows her immaturity. Here, it seems that Gia is actually concerned for Lucy. Gia was truly worried that Lucy might commit suicide. Gia tried to bring Lucy away from the window, and she even tried bringing Lucy back up into the classroom in an attempt to save her life. So in the end, maybe Gia was really just too trusting of Tammy. Perhaps she innocently believed that Tammy wouldn't spread Lucy's secrets. So, what are your thoughts about Gia's story? Do you think she deserves to be killed by Lucy? It would have been nice had they been able to talk about it. Communication is always the key. They never got a chance to properly talk. Everyone has faults which led to Lucy's death. Lucy's death wouldn't have occurred if they were all mature and talked properly. Lucy should have gotten help, but then if she did, this game wouldn't have existed. Anyway, if you ever feel you're suicidal, talk to a trusted adult like your parents, your siblings, or your guidance counselor in school. You can also exercise. Exercise helps release happy neurotransmitters, like endorphins, dopamine, and serotonin. Those neurotransmitters will make you feel happy and fulfilled. Also, I've listed suicide hotlines in the description box. So, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll be back.